CBS Radio is marking its 50th anniversary. The network is marking the event this evening with a special 3-hour broadcast narrated by Walter Cronkite. Stand by for the segments of this broadcast recorded between 7 to 10 p.m. on the evening of Sunday, September 18th, 1977.
Now again, correspondent Walter Cronkite with our Golden Anniversary special broadcast on the first 50 years of CBS Radio.
Programs for young people were an early interest of the radio network, an interest that continues today, incidentally, with the CBS Radio Adventure Theater. Jack Armstrong, the All-American Boy, one of the longest-running juvenile adventure series, was first heard on the air over CBS in 1933. The next year, Nyla Mack, one of the first women directors, began her 20-year-long drama series for children called Let's Pretend.
Hello, hello, come on, let's go. It's time for Let's Pretend. With magic and with make-believe, our own real special blend. A fairy tale comes true now, from start right to the end. So everyone come join the fun. Come on and let's pretend. Hello, pretenders. Today, how would you like one of the best-known, best-loved stories of all time? We love it! All right, then. Let's have Cinderella. Shall we start off to meet her right away? Well, just as soon as
There was something for every taste on the network down the years. Detectives like Mr. Keene and Nick Charles, thrillers like Suspense and Inner Sanctum, and true-to-life stories with plenty of crime, such as Gangbusters, which made the claim to be the only national program to bring its listeners authentic police case histories.
The CBS Radio Network presents Gangbusters.
On another plane from Gangbusters, there was Lights Out, which was not for the faint-hearted.
Lights Out brings you stories of the supernatural and the supernormal, dramatizing the fantasies and the mysteries of the unknown. We tell you this frankly, so if you wish to avoid the excitement and tension of these imaginative plays, we urge you calmly, but sincerely, to turn off your radio now.
Any discussion of radio drama would be incomplete without the soap opera. By the late 1930s, there were some 20 daytime series running on CBS. And a 1950 survey reported that more than half of the nation's housewives listened to Ma Perkins and Our Gal Sunday, both CBS programs. The longest running was The Romance of Helen Trent, which was on CBS for 27 years of protracted agony while holding out the hope of eternal romance to its audience.
Once again, we bring you the romance of Helen Trent, who sets out to prove for herself what so many women long to prove, that because a woman is 35 or more, romance in life need not be over. That romance can live in life at 35 and after.
Daytime dramas also provided what some might call philosophy to live by.
And now, life can be beautiful.
In every age, there is a constant search for, in its larger sense, beauty. Mark Akenside wrote a poem in the early 18th century called The Pleasures of Imagination. And it's this verse. Alas, how faint, how slow the dawn of beauty and of truth breaks the reluctant shades of Gothic night, which yet involve the nations. But perhaps finally, in this, our generation, the goal will be reached, and all nations will come out of the night into a fuller realization that only through understanding, life can be beautiful.
The soap operas allowed listeners to indulge their secret fantasies. Once again, we present Our Gal Sunday, the story of an orphan girl named Sunday who was left on the steps of the cabin of two old miners who raised her from childhood in the little mining town of Silver Creek, Colorado, who, in young womanhood, married England's richest, most handsome lord, Lord Henry Brinthorpe. The story that asks the question, can this girl from a little mining town in the West find happiness as the wife of a wealthy and titled Englishman? Best of all, the soap opera plots were so complex as to provide the audience food for thought until the next thrilling installment.
You? Is anybody?
And now, the Goldbergs. Molly Goldberg is excited about the matchmaking that she's doing. With docile and lovely Emma working in the Goldberg house, Molly can think of nothing better than to try to be helpful. Especially since Bruce Hanley, Mary Foote's brother-in-law, has a nice farm and is something or other essential and so on. This pretty and sentimental country romance is Molly's idea, but we know the real side. The curious, almost evil character of Emma, and the fascination she exercises on Molly's son. We know how Emma has lied to everyone, fooled everyone, how she has wound herself into Sammy's life like some parasitic vine. And now we know how she is using Molly's cheerful little plan to force Sammy into an open statement. And now, as they stand on the orchard hill overlooking the house,
in a different kind of drama, a milestone was achieved on CBS Radio with the coming of theatrical productions presented in single evening broadcasts. Lux Radio Theater had its debut on CBS in 1935.
Welcome, everyone, to Hollywood and to another hour in the Lux Radio Theater. And now, we present Hollywood's foremost producer. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cecil B. DeMille. Greetings from Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen. Gary Cooper and Jean Arthur were born to the roles they play tonight. Mandrake Falls, where our play opens, might have been any one of the prairie towns Gary once called home. While the town Mr. Dean goes to is the town Jean Arthur came from, New York. Now, we present the stars of the story. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lux Radio Theater Spotlight, Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, starring Gary Cooper and...
I just want to see if this thing fits my new bass horn all right.
Mr. Deeds, we have some news for you.
Yeah. I suggest you sit down, though, Mr. Deeds.
Mr. Deeds. Mr. Deeds. Does the name of Martin W. Semple mean anything to you?
Not much. An uncle of mine, I think, although I never saw him.
Well, he passed on. He was killed in a motor accident in Italy.
He was? Now, that's too bad. If there's anything I can do...
Mr. Semple left a great fortune when he died. He left it to you, Mr. Deeds. Deducting taxes, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 million.
Well, for crying out loud.
Perhaps you didn't hear me, Mr. Deeds. I said the whole Semple fortune goes to you. $20 million.
Oh, I heard you all right. $20 million. That's quite a bit, isn't it?
Oh, it'll do in a pinch.
Yes, indeed. I wonder why he left all that money to me. I don't need it.
Lux Radio Theater aired for 19 seasons on CBS. Another aspect of serious drama came into its own on CBS Radio in the late 1930s. In 1936, the Columbia Workshop, an experimental theater, was inaugurated. Its 1937 production of Archibald MacLeish's verse drama called Fall of the City is still remembered. Another of the Workshop's illustrious presentations was Shakespeare's Richard III.
Today, the Columbia Workshop, radio's foremost laboratory of writing and production techniques, has the honor to present the Old Vic Theatre Company of London, England. Their first radio appearance in the United States, a special hour and one-half arrangement of The Tragedy of King Richard III by William Shakespeare, with Laurence Olivier in the role of Richard and Ralph Richardson as the narrator.
If Richard III touches deeper chords of terror than the preceding plays, the reason is not to be found in the greater violence of the historic events it traces, but in the character of Richard himself. Here is Richard.
Since this world affords no joy to me, but to command, to check, to o'erbear such as are of better person than myself, I'll make my heaven to dream upon the throne, and whiles I live to account this world but hell, until my misshaped trunk that bears this head be round impaled with a glorious crown. But yet I know not how to get the crown, for many lives stand between me and home. And I, like one lost in a thorny wood, that rents the thorns and is rent with the thorns, seeking a way and straying from the way, not knowing how to find the open air, but toiling desperately to find it out, torment myself to catch the English crown, and from that torment I will free myself, or hew my way out with a bloody axe. Why, I can smile and murder whiles I smile, and cry content to that which grieves my heart, and wet my cheeks with artificial tears, and frame my face to all occasions. I'll drown more sailors than the mermaid shall. I'll play the orator as well as Nestor, deceive more slyly than Ulysses could, and like a Sinon, take another Troy. I can add colors to the chameleon, change shapes with Proteus for advantages, and send the murderous Machiavel to school. Can I do this, and cannot get a crown? Tut, were it further off, I'd pluck it down.
Over the years, certain radio broadcast dramas were unique and are considered classics today. One was Suspense. And one of the plays in the Suspense series was called Sorry, Wrong Number. It starred Agnes Moorehead, virtually the only member of the cast, and was the story of an invalid woman confined to bed who overhears her own murder being plotted on a cross-telephone line.
Hello? Hello, is Mr. Stevenson there?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Hello, George? Yes, boss, this is George speaking.
Hello, who's this? What number is this, please?
I'm here with our client. Oh, good. Is everything set up for tonight?
What?
Yes, George. He says everything is set up. Good.
What number is this, please?
At 11:15, a train crosses the bridge. It makes a noise in case her window is open and she should scream.
Hello?
Remember, George, make it quick. Our client doesn't wish her to suffer long. I'll use a knife. Police Station, Precinct 43, Sergeant Martin speaking.
Police Department? Oh, this is Mrs. Stevenson. Mrs. Albert Smythe Stevenson of 53 North Sutton Place. I'm calling up to report a murder. I mean, the murder hasn't been committed yet, but I overheard plans for it over the telephone, over a wrong number that the operator gave me.
Yes, ma'am.
Two men were talking, and they were going to murder some woman at 11:15 tonight. She lived in a house near a bridge. Are you listening to me?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, it's just unnerved me dreadfully, and I'm not well.
Well, we'll look into it, Mrs. Stevenson, see if we can check it with the telephone company.
Check it! Personally, I feel you ought to do something far more immediate and drastic than just check the call. I'd say the whole thing calls for a search. A complete and thorough search of the whole thing. I'm very near the bridge, and I'm not... Oh, for heaven's sake, I'm going to go on my mind. Hello! Hello! Stop ringing me! Do you hear? Answer me! Who is this? Do you realize you're driving me crazy? Who's calling me? What are you doing it for? Now, stop it! Stop it! Stop it! I say, hello! If you don't stop ringing me, I'm going to call the police. You hear? The police! Oh, if Albert was over... Give me the police department.
One moment, please. I will connect you.
Please. Get the police. The police. Get the hurry. Get the police, please. Oh, my God. What? Oh, he was. Oh, don't come near me. Please, I haven't heard any. Honey, please, I haven't. Please don't hurt me. Please. I haven't done anything.
Police Department, Precinct 43, Sergeant Martin speaking.
Police Department? Sorry, wrong number. Don't worry, everything is okay here.
Norman Corwin's On a Note of Triumph is considered another radio classic. Here's an excerpt of that broadcast, which aired in 1945, just before the end of World War II, and earned CBS 1,000 immediate phone calls of congratulations in New York and more than that number in Hollywood.
By popular request, the Columbia Broadcasting System presents a repeat performance of On a Note of Triumph, a special broadcast written, directed, and produced by Norman Corwin for the Day of Victory. Martin Gable is narrator, and the music is by Bernard Herrmann.
Is victory a sweet dish, or isn't it? And how do you think those lights look in Europe after 5 years of blackout going on to 6? Brother, pretty good. Pretty good, sister. The kids of Poland soon will know what an orange tastes like. And the smell of honest-to-God bread, freshly made and sawdust-free, will create a stir in the streets of Athens. There's a hot time in the old town of Dnepropetrovsk tonight. And it is reasonable to assume the same goes for 1,000 other cities, including some Scandinavian. It can at last be said without jinxing the campaign. Somehow, the decadent democracies, the bungling Bolsheviks, the saps and softies, were tougher in the end than the brown-shirt bully boys. And smarter, too. For without whipping a priest, burning a book, or slugging a Jew, without corralling a girl in a brothel or bleeding a child for plasma, far-flung, ordinary men, unspectacular but free, rousing out of their habits in their homes, got up early one morning, flexed their muscles, learned as amateurs the manual of arms, and set out across perilous plains and oceans to whop the bejeepers out of the professionals. This they did.
The CBS Mercury Theater, which was directed by Orson Welles, is perhaps remembered by more people than any other radio drama series. Wells' 1938 production of The War of the Worlds was so realistic it had national repercussions. The story opens with a supposed news flash, interrupting a program in progress to tell listeners that Martians have landed in New Jersey and are spreading death and destruction in their wake. CBS put the script through 38 changes before broadcast in order to stress that it was only a story, fiction. Even so, many listeners were fooled and believed Martians had invaded our planet. Here's part of the dramatic conclusion of War of the Worlds.
This is the end now. Smoke comes out, black smoke drifting over the city. People in the streets see it now. They're running toward the East River, thousands of them, dropping in like rats. Now the smoke's spreading faster. It's reached Times Square. People are trying to run away from it, but it's no use. They're falling like flies. Now the smoke's crossing 6th Avenue. 5th Avenue. 100 yards away. 50 feet.
Calling, say kill. 2X2L calling, say kill. 2X2L calling, say kill, New York. Isn't there anyone on the air? Isn't there anyone on the air? Isn't there anyone?
This is Orson Welles, ladies and gentlemen. Out of character, to assure you that the War of the Worlds has no further significance than as the holiday offering it was intended to be. The Mercury Theater's own radio version of dressing up in a sheet and jumping out of a bush and saying boo. Starting now, we couldn't soap all your windows and seal all your garden gates. By tomorrow night, so we did the next best thing. We annihilated the world before your very ears and utterly destroyed CBS. You will be relieved, I hope, to learn that we didn't mean it, and that both institutions are still open for business. So goodbye, everybody, and remember, please, for the next day or so, the terrible lesson you learned tonight. That grinning, glowing, globular invader of your living room is an inhabitant of the pumpkin patch, and if your doorbell rings and nobody's there, that was no Martian, it's Halloween.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System. Drama on CBS Radio. It prospered for many years, and then at the end of the 1950s, withered and virtually disappeared. A decade and a half later, with a new generation of listeners, the CBS Radio Mystery Theater, a one-hour drama each night of the week, was born and is heard today. A look at CBS News in the past 25 years when our anniversary broadcast continues.
You are listening to CBS Radio at 50, an autobiography in sound, a 3-hour CBS News anniversary broadcast.